And so we have a shooting competition. And so at the end of the day, I have to put, other people help, of course. So I have to put the steel back into the Connex. And usually at the end of the day, I am wiped physically. And now with the quantum device, it's like I never move the steel. I'm not tired. I'm not exhausted. I'm like, I don't believe this device. And then, and then when we were cycling this past week, I had the device in the back right jersey, and I started to pick up a little stress on my right hip. 20 minutes later, it's gone.
Hey, Charles, thanks so much for coming to spend time with me today.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, I'm excited to hear your story. So can you start off just telling us a little bit about how you felt prior to coming to QHS?
Well, as with anyone aging, you know, I was hoping that it would improve my health. It would be maybe a mechanism to help me cure diabetes. If it wasn't for diabetes, I would be styling. And but it seems like even though I'm a recreational athlete, that's maybe my only holdback. But I've got diabetes pretty well managed. Now I want to get rid of it. And so that's probably in a nutshell.
And type 1 diabetes, it's basically your pancreas isn't secreting insulin, right?
Well, yeah, this is new evidence coming out is you have a nicotine beta cell that tells the beta cell that tells the pancreas how much insulin to produce. So what happens is that the nicotine receptor cell sometimes gets clogged, or we could say somebody in the medical field higher than us has figured out a way to block it.
Ooh.
So what happens is that, so it forces, even though the pancreas is still producing the insulin, you have the bad beta cells that are saying no, 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 and
Don't
so
release it.
Doesn't release it. So it's that's why they call it an autoimmune disease. It's like your body's fighting with each other.
Oh, is that new that they call type 1 diabetes autoimmune?
No, it's always been like that. But with me going to different endocrinologists, my every visit was, well, you got a cure? And the doctor goes, there's no cure for diabetes. And I said, well, there was a study done in Great Britain where there was a physician had a patient that was diabetic for 15 years, type 1. So he comes in and the person has, say, the beginning signs of tuberculosis. While in the United States, Big Pharma and the American Medical Association removed the TB vaccine from the United States. Wonder why? So it turns out that, but in Great Britain, they still use the TB vaccine. So they give the guy the TB vaccine. 3 days later, the patient calls up and says, what did you give me? And the doctor goes, what do you mean? He goes, my numbers have been normal for 3 days. And I haven't taken any insulin, and I live off of insulin four times a day. And I'm off of insulin for 3 days straight. What did you give me? So the doctor says, come on back in. Let's examine this. And it turns out that it's the bacillus in the TB vaccine that opens up the nicotine receptor cells to allow the pancreas was always producing the insulin.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. So
no surprise, but
no surprise. So anyhow, it's that. So I'm maybe hoping I wasn't diabetic until I was 50. And I'm hoping that if I go through this if I go back in time physiologically that I would be before this happened. So then I wouldn't be diabetic. And then by that time, they would have figured out how to open up the nicotine receptor cell. So then I wouldn't be diabetic. But keep in mind, Big Pharma, they make $100 billion a year from insulin.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a health coaching background.
Oh, okay.
And so I had clients that had diabetes, and with lifestyle changes, I was able to help their doctor get them off the insulin. But the diets or the RD in the doctor's offices don't do that. They don't teach them what I taught them. And then one of my clients is like telling the doctor, and he said to her, do not tell the RD that, like, she'll get all upset.
Oh yeah, I last year I fired 5 doctors. They were just, I know too much, medically speaking, and they were just not, it was nonsensical what they were saying. And so the doctor I have now, who's really not a doctor, he's a practicing physician. Ever hear of that term?
Oh, no.
Not a MD, but a practicing
PA?
Yeah, something like that.
Physician's assistant.
But he's his own practice.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyhow, he and I, we've been working together. I'm 6 feet tall. I weigh 185 pounds. It's not that I'm overweight. It's not that I'm inactive. It's not that I eat badly. It just sucks to be me.
No, don't say that. Everything laws of attraction.
Yeah. So
let's attract what you want, not focusing on the lack of it.
Yeah. So Kathleen, my wife, she got hers the beginning of March. And so we thought
of this year.
So I was thinking, I go, oh yeah. It's got to be a little bit on the, let's see what one device will do. So we would share it in bed because it's between us, in bed. And about 2 weeks later, all of a sudden I wake up and the room is spinning on me. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with me now? And I'm 68 and a half. So I'm thinking, what the, and I've been on blood pressure medication for like 30 years because I was an executive for 40 years. So there's a lot of pressure that goes on with that. So anyhow, I thought it was the blood pressure medication. So I call up Pete and I go, the room's spinning on me. He goes, are you still on your blood pressure medication? I go, yeah. He goes, get off of it. And then 2 days, 3 days, it diminished and everything was back and I'm off of blood pressure medication.
Nice.
And then I was like, okay, I'm sold. So then I got my device May 8th.
Okay, so just this month.
Just this month, I've been on it now almost 2 weeks, but sharing Kathleen's just from being in bed. Another thing that happened was that unfortunately I'm diabetic, type 1. And with all diabetics, they start to develop a neuropathy as you age.
Yeah.
And the neuropathy is declining.
Nice.
And I'm what you call, say, a recreational athlete. So Kathleen and I, we go out and we cycle every morning, like 10 miles. So she has an electric trike that our kids got her. And I have a 27 speed Vortex, which is a 6.4 titanium bike. And we ride 10 miles through hilly terrain almost every morning, say 4 times a week, we'll say 4 times a week we do that. And so now I've gotten strong enough. I beat her electric bike. I beat an electric bike up the grades.
Woohoo! That's fabulous.
So that's pretty cool. And
yeah, I'll say.
So, and then also I'm a match director for SAS, which is Single Action Shooting Society. So you shoot, it's a cowboy thing. It's like 120,000 members worldwide. And in Prescott, we have 4 clubs, and I'm the match director of one of the clubs. And so there you have to pick up like 18-inch square steel and put it on the rack. So you set up steel targets because we're shooting live ammunition and guns from the 1800s.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, so like 2 revolvers, 1866 Yellow Boy rifle, and a 1897 Winchester, which was designed by John Browning. And so we have a shooting competition. And so at the end of the day, I have to put, other people help, of course. So I have to put the steel back into the Connex. And usually at the end of the day, I am wiped physically. And now with the quantum device, it's like I never move the steel. I'm not tired. I'm not exhausted. I'm like, I don't believe this device. And then, and then when we were cycling this past week, I had the device in the back right jersey, and I started to pick up a little stress on my right hip. 20 minutes later, it's gone. And then the next day it was on my left hip. I put the Twine device on my left jersey pocket, and 20 minutes later, it's gone. And
Wow.
I'm like, wait a minute, this is, this is more than what my expectations were. And so I'm this has just been, and then in the Twine Wave meeting last week, I mean, that was yesterday, they talked about, look at your scars. I'm like, huh? And I had a right scar on my hand about that long. It's gone. And then
Wow.
I checked a couple of other scars that I have, and it's going away. That I've had, one scar I had since 1961, and it's going away.
Wow, that's fabulous.
So I don't know. All I can tell you is that if the Twine device is doing this, imagine what the ARC is going to do.
I know, right?
So I don't, maybe, I think what it is that some people, they're more receptive to the wave, like their cells or something. Your metaphysics is more receptive to the wavelengths, if you will. I don't quite understand it, but because some people, that when I listen to other people, they're not having those experiences that I'm having. So I think everybody reacts differently,
Right.
at different rates.
Right. And they could have deeper things going on that need to be cleaned up prior to coming to the surface.
Right.
So we don't know what's going on inside of our body until oftentimes it's too late. Like, what is the first sign of heart disease? Usually it's a heart attack.
Right. Yeah.
So we want to get out ahead of it by doing things to prevent and to live a healthier lifestyle so that we don't have to have those types of symptoms,
Right.
So Charles, now we get to look forward to meeting in Salt Lake City and participating in the QARC. Yes. We get to take all the wisdom and knowledge and, all of these life experiences and apply them to a younger body with our do-over.
Yes.
What are you excited about with that?
I'm going to work on a humanitarian project, and what that's going to entail, I'm working on. There was a gentleman by XRP Lion. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I heard Dave or something.
Yeah, Dave, that's correct. Well, I was given an NDA to get ready for, they want people to, if you're gonna go into the ARC or a med bed, so you could probably help me out what the difference is between them, because what the military's doing and what you're doing, that in itself would be an interesting conversation. So, but we won't do that today. But I'm going to dedicate my ability for the gift to be rejuvenated, if you will, I'm going to return that in some way, somehow. You know, my dad told me when I was a child, he told me, he says, the reason you're on the planet Earth is what are you going to do to contribute to the enhancement of civilization?
Oh my gosh, that just gave me chills.
You know,
What a great dad.
he was, I'm telling you, he was awesome. You know, but anyhow, I said, so I've done that in a smaller venue locally around me and through my life. I've always given back to some organization or some event or what have you. So, so now I'll just share with you, what is the population of the human species on Earth? What does that make? What does that make up of the total life species?
Oh, probably a very small percentage.
It's 0.01 of 1%.
Oh my goodness. So it's really, really small.
So could you imagine that if you could contribute, say, to the enhancement of life of the oceans, where 80% of life is? That's huge. A lot of people don't know, you take in the Pacific Ocean, there's garbage floating the size of Texas.
Wow.
Could you imagine that if you could work with other organizations, including the military and their technology, instead of picking it up, making it disappear?
Yeah, deatomize it.
So it'll be something of that scale.
Oh, cool. I love it. Yeah, that's what everything is. It's like I was trying to explain this to somebody. Everything is made of atoms.
Right.
So the way I see it is you have like, your phone, you deatomize it and you have this collector bucket and then you reatomize it and you make something else with it. So deatomizing all the garbage and all the stuff gives you a bucket of atoms that you can create something better with.
Yes.
Now that's just a very basic way to look at it, but that's the way I visualize it.
Right. So that's why I like QHS, is that their thought process is along the same lines. It's how they communicate it is what's different. But I get it.
Cool. Well, what are you excited for yourself personally besides giving back? Is there any life, like, is there anything in your life that you didn't do the first time around that you're looking forward to doing differently with your do-over?
It's the do-over will be a major humanitarian project. Like, for an example, all my friends, all they want to do is be either administrator or do the work, be the one, working in a med bed facility. And, and it's like, have at it. There'll be so many people. I mean, we even have at our practitioner's office, they have a practitioner in there. All she wants to do is, when the med beds come out, be working with the med beds. There are many people, countless people, that's what they want to do. So for me, is that where is the life of a grander scale that you could contribute in a humanitarian project?
Well, I'm going to encourage you to check out the Love One Society programs, because those two wonderful organizations have collaborated, and that will give you other things that you can look at. And then I also want to give you some clarity. I believe that a med bed is it's like a general term, like a car, right? A car and a med bed, right? And then with the car, you have the Cadillac and the Ford and the Lexus and all these brands. QHS is the first med bed that is actually coming out. The Q Arc is the first that's actually coming out to the people. And it has that 3D holographic, the Arc, that's going to be a game changer. And we're going to start, I want to say, Cynthia said 3rd week of June is when we're going to start going through it. And as admin, we get to do it first.
Right.
That way you guys can all see our before and afters and step into it with confidence and go right on, I'm ready.
So what is your husband going to do when one day you walk through the door and you look 30 years old?
Oh, he's coming with me. He's going to come with me. He's already older than me. He doesn't want to be an extra 30 years older. That's for sure. So
that's why Kathleen and I, we decided, we're going in. And then when we come out, it's going to be, how do we help civilization?
Exactly. And I'm right there with you. That's my project was doing wellness. It was going to be called Violet Flame Wellness Center. And Cynthia happens to love St. Germain. And so Violet Flame is part of St. Germain. And so it just was synchronicity that's what my dream is. But now it's even better because now I'm on the team. So I'll open centers, but just have somebody else run them so that I can continue with the expansion of our company.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's
or
great.
I should say our association.
Right.
So that's exciting.
Yep.
Well, I am so happy that I got to talk with you today. And
Likewise.
just thank you so much, Charles, for spending some time sharing your wonderful story. And I look forward to seeing you on part 2 after the Q arc.
Okay, sounds great.